Welcome back. I hope you've got your drink with you. I keep forgetting to ask if you do. Now, we're going to be looking at this story that broke, I think this was yesterday. The acting AG, Todd Blanche, has announced the indictment against the Southern Poverty Law Center. We're going to listen to this. Let me know what you think in the chat. We're going to read your chat during the live stream. This is quite the announcement, and we're going to be digging back into the past to some of the good work that the Southern Poverty Law Center has done to let you know how big this story is, okay? Do you remember the Charlottesville hoax, okay? The Very Fine People hoax, all right? It turns out that these were the guys who were paying the very fine people. Okay, so let's just listen to this. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. We're going to have this conversation as we go, and I hope you have your drinks loaded up, right? So let's dive in.
Good afternoon. Today, a few minutes ago, in the Middle District of Alabama, a grand jury returned an 11-count indictment charging the Southern Poverty Law Center with 6 counts of wire fraud, 4 counts of bank fraud, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. According to the charges in the indictment, the SPLC is a nonprofit entity that purports to fight white supremacy and racial hatred by reporting on extremist groups and conducting research to inform law enforcement groups with the goal of dismantling these groups. As the indictment describes, the SPLC was not dismantling these groups. It was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to oppose by paying sources to stoke racial hatred.
Well, look at that.
The indictment describes this conduct in detail, but one troubling example is that the SPLC was paying a member of the leadership group that planned the Unite the Right protest in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017 that resulted in the death of 1 person and injured dozens more. This particular person being paid by the SPLC allegedly received approximately $270,000 over the course of 8 years. In total, according to the indictment, between 2014 and 2023, SPLC paid at least $3 million to 8 individuals at least. These individuals were affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan, United Klans of America, National Socialist Movement, Aryan Nations Affiliated Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club, the Nationalist Socialist Party of America, Nazis, and the American Front. Now, as the indictment lays out, after SPLC paid members of these extremist groups, it created work product that reported on these activities that the members participated in or contributed to. And to that end, it was doing the exact opposite of what it's told its donors it was doing, not dismantling extremism, but funding it. To carry out this scheme, SPLC created bank accounts in the name of at least 5 completely fictitious organizations that had no bona fide employees or legitimate business purpose. The money was passed from SPLC to one sham account to a second sham account and then loaded onto prepaid cards to give to the members of the extremist groups. This was designed to shield the source of those funds, and because of this, SPLC is also charged with 1 count, as I said earlier, of conspiracy to commit money laundering. In conclusion, I want to thank the acting U.S. Attorney in the Middle District of Alabama, Kevin Davidson, who's in his district right now and not able to be with us, for bringing this important case, along with the FBI team in Alabama for their hard work during this investigation.
All right, so we're going to circle back to this for a bit, but here's some of the good work that the SPLC has been involved with over the years. This is an interview when Tucker Carlson
former professor at
when Tucker Carlson was still employed at Fox News, and I would like you to listen very carefully to what they did to her and see if there's a pattern to how they've also essentially attacked conservative voices or anyone who appears to be calling out certain ideologies in public. So let's have a listen.
Carol Swain is a former professor at Vanderbilt University Law School. A few years ago, she dared to criticize the Southern Poverty Law Center, a group that is completely corrupt. She accused them of effectively becoming a hate group while claiming to fight against hate groups. Well, the SPLC's reaction was predictable. There was no introspection of any kind. They denounced Swain as, quote, an apologist for white supremacists.
So she accused them of empowering or funding hate groups in order to pretend to be fighting hate groups. This was reported all the way back in, I think this was 2017. She did that. And when she did that, she was attacked. She was called names. She was accused of being a bigot. And what the world moved on. And conservative after conservative, Elon Musk has called out the Southern Poverty Law Center several times. And, he's been dismissed as, as a kook. And now it's coming out. Okay? Look, aren't you guys tired of being right? You've been calling these things out year after year. And they try to hush you up by saying that, it's a conspiracy theory, there's nothing there. And then all of a sudden, there's something there. And everyone pretends like, oh, we didn't know.
Carol Swain just wrote about the experience in the Wall Street Journal. She says the group's attacks are a badge of pride for her. She joins us now.
Hello.
Carol Swain, thanks for joining us tonight. So when you saw that the Southern Poverty Law Center was calling you an apologist for white supremacy, what was your reaction to that?
Well, I was not surprised. I had criticized them first, and I was criticizing them because I saw that they were engaging in mission creep, that they had lost sight of their original purpose, and they had started going after conservatives. At the time, it was immigration restrictionists. So I wrote a blog September 2009, and about 6 weeks later, my photograph was in my local paper on the front page with a headline that I was an apologist for white supremacy.
Did your original piece say anything nice?
So they retaliated.
So what they usually do, of course, is if you're black, they label you something that discredits you. So she's black, and because she confronted them to say, hey, you're essentially not doing what you claim to be doing, they labeled her an apologist for white supremacy. This is how these groups work. All these leftist groups, all these activist groups, that's how they work. In order to shut you up or essentially to end the conversation, they start accusing you of one label or the other. Now, leave a message in the chat. I'm going to read your messages and we're going to have a conversation about this. Why is this so important? It's because you and I have been calling this out for years. And all of a sudden, some of these things are coming to the surface. And then it's now fashionable to talk about the fact that this is a fact. But remember January 6th, when lots of us said, look, there's something wrong with this picture. There's something wrong with these groups. Do you remember those so-called far-right Nazi groups that were marching with Nazi flags and they claimed to be far-right? They were funded by these guys. So all of the staging of white supremacy that you saw over the last 10 years is connected to this group, and it was all astroturfed.
Well, it's almost unbelievable that they would do that, but I just want to be absolutely sure I'm not missing anything. Did you say anything nice about white supremacists in your piece?
Had nothing to do with white supremacists. There was a film that I reviewed. The title of the film was A Conversation About Race, and I gave it an enthusiastic review because I felt that on college and university campuses that there was a side that was not usually heard in social science classes, and that was the perspective of whites who felt that they were being beaten up about racism. And so I endorsed the film, and they used that as the pretext to label me as an apologist for white supremacy, even though I had written at that point 2 books on white nationalism.
Yeah, and not in favor of it, of course. So
no, of
what
course
was your
not. Yeah.
the whole thing is so crazy. I guess if you take 3 steps back, look, they're a corrupt group that exists to raise a lot of money from mostly well-meaning but gullible donors. I get it. But what I'm shocked by is how many media organizations take them seriously, pretend that they're legitimate. Did you lodge a complaint with them?
Well, first of all, anyone that criticizes them publicly run the risk of being labeled as a hater or being placed on hate watch or being mentioned in one of their articles. And so to get branded by them, all you have to do is criticize them. In fact, you yourself is at risk of being placed on hate watch.
Oh, I'm sure that's true. I wouldn't go there. But to call an African-American woman a white supremacist, I'm sorry to laugh, it's horrible, but it's also so ludicrous that why would anyone...
apologist for white supremacy.
Why would anyone take them seriously?
I don't know. I mean, they have a lot of influence at universities, and the name, the Southern Poverty Law Center, it conjures up an image of this organization that is seeking to eradicate poverty, that's working on behalf of the downtrodden. Totally false. They do nothing really for the poor.
And it's the same thing for every other NGO out there. USAID, anyone? Okay? They label themselves to be something they are not. They are all pressure groups to silence conservatives or people who aren't fond of globalist ideologies or globalist policies. And they use these NGOs or pressure groups as a means to censor debate or any pushback from conservative leaning voices or organizations, so that the Democrats in government can say, oh, look, we're not censoring anyone. Our hands are clean. Oh, but look, this NGO, this nonprofit is doing such a good job of making sure that there is safe discourse in the public sphere. All of it is plausible deniability. So now that all of this is coming out, look, I know that there's a lot of frustration with the Trump administration at how fast these indictments are going through. Now, whether this is going to go anywhere is totally dependent on which federal judge is going to sit on this case. And I think something has to be done about the federal judges. But based on what you've seen so far, okay, tell me what you think. Okay, has this essentially revealed the things that you've been suspecting for a long time, that groups like this have been intentionally creating the crisis that they claim to exist to deal with? I saw a post by Ben Shapiro yesterday, and he was essentially saying that most NGOs run this way. They step forward to say, we're here to solve this problem. Then the problem never gets solved. Why is that? Why is it that you were created to solve a problem and the problem just never gets solved? Because, in my opinion, it's all a scam. Because once that problem is solved, there's no reason for your organization to exist. It's like government. The government should exist to do very small jobs, but departments are created to solve these bogus problems that never seem to be solved. After 50 years, the same problems are there. So what is the problem? The problem is that these problems are a meal ticket for the powers that be. we've seen it in third world countries. In my country of origin, there's a power problem. The electric grid is over 50 years old. It craps out when there's a storm, and they keep pumping billions and billions and billions into resolving that problem, and it's never been resolved. Why is that? Because the problem is lucrative. So the Southern Poverty Law Center, have you heard of it? Did you see this report? What did you think of the coverage? This is an old report from Fox News while Tucker Carlson was still employed there, and while his old speech writer was giving him the lines that essentially position him as a conservative. So let me know what you think of this. I did promise that we would go back to this for a second or two. So let's finish up with this, and just let me know your thoughts in the comment section.
Ongoing, and I'd like to ask Director Patel to say a few words as well.
Thank you, General Blanche. What we're here today is to announce what the General just told you. The Southern Poverty Law Center, in a massive, sweeping indictment, has been charged with allegations of fraud and using the banking system to perpetrate that fraud. I just want to talk about a couple of brief things here. The Southern Poverty Law Center themselves advertise to raise money to dismantle violent extremist groups for a period of at least a decade. They use their donor network to raise money to purportedly dismantle violent extremist groups. However, the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, used the money they raised from their donor network to actually pay the leadership of these very groups. I just want to say that again. They used the fraudulently raised money by lying to their donor network, thousands of Americans, to go ahead and actually pay the leadership of these supposed violent extremist groups. The groups, as the General laid out, include the Ku Klux Klan, the United Klans of America, Unite to Right, National Alliance, the National Socialist Movement, the Aryan Nation Motorcycle Club, and the National Socialist Party of America, and also the American Front.
Yeah, so the investigation is ongoing. These are all the organizations that they essentially funded to create chaos, which in turn the media will turn around and try to pin on Trump, on MAGA, on conservatives, and use that as fuel to justify the silencing of conservative voices. We forget too easily. We've forgotten too soon. We've forgotten that this was the reality for conservatives for almost a decade. And to have the Tucker Carlsons and the Alex Joneses and Candace Owenses who rose on the wings of, hey, these people are taking away our free speech and we are your voices and champions to make sure you don't lose it. For them to turn around and make it sound like it should have been preferable to vote in Kamala Harris instead of Donald Trump is absolutely insane. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and let me know your thoughts as well about the proceedings. Do you think that we're going to see any accountability, or do you think this is just going to be more of the same, indictments being stalled and thrown out by a federal judge? Let me know that in the comment section, and I'll catch you on the next one. We'll take a break and come back.